That's right, it's Pride Month, and what a better time than now to talk about our favorite emotion. Shame. I know, I'm such a downer. And welcome to what I like to call Feeling Your Feels, a little series on the evolutionary functions of common emotions. And if you're new here, hi, I'm Jay. I often post usually silly queer content, but I also advocate for mental health awareness and psychoeducation in my free time, so feel free to share, comment, or give me a follow if you're into this. Alright, let's talk about it. Shame. So, there's absolutely no shame in Pride Month, and there's no shame in identifying as LGBTQIA. And yet, many of these folks experience a feeling of being ashamed as kids, and this can linger well into adulthood or well after coming out of the closet. And I am here to tell you, this actually makes a lot of sense. You see, human beings evolved to live in a society, so it makes sense that when we receive messages about ourselves that we're wrong or some behavior is dishonorable in the community, we would have evolved an emotion to efficiently organize our responses, hence shame. So when shame is felt, it's communicating to ourselves that we possess a personal characteristic or have acted in a way that goes against, and our community can be anything like our parents, it could be a religious community, it could be our friends. We might even feel shame when someone rejects us, like embarrassment, or when someone laughs at us, like self-consciousness or humiliation, or when we break the law, culpability. This can lead to shame thoughts that are like, I'm unlovable, I'll be rejected, I am defective, I'm bad, I'm wrong. We can start to feel a sense of dread in the body, a desire to hide or run. And if you don't see how this makes sense, follow for part 2. Welcome back to part 2 of Feeling Your Feels, Shame Edition. So part 1 gave examples of when we might feel shame, which is when we're acting in a way or we feel like we are a way that goes against what our community wants us to be. And I started to talk about how shame is literally can create feelings in the body of wanting to like shrink or disappear or run away or maybe even to apologize. So you can kind of see how shame literally is functioning to motivate us, our body, our cognitions, like our thoughts, to hide certain behaviors or parts of ourselves from a shaming community. So what can we ask ourselves when we feel an emotion like this? Does this make sense? Is this effective for me? Now, shame makes sense evolutionarily. We might have to run away from a community, hide a part of ourselves in order to survive. It makes sense as a child who literally needs to survive in their household. So if they feel shame and it makes them be accepted by their parents, you can see how shame might be functioning, even though the child is, of course, harmed by the shame and by cutting off parts of themselves. But as an adult, staying part of a community that arbitrarily decides that you are shameful is probably not justified. These judgments are often just outdated or not fair, and it's important to recognize that. But it's also important to recognize the function that shame is serving for us. But this shows us why Pride Month is so important. Pride is the antidote to shame. It is a signal that there is indeed this accepting, open community. And this community will refuse to allow oppressive people to tell us that there's something wrong with us. We can live intentionally with pride while at the same time recognizing that many of us are still going to be affected by the shame that we felt growing up. But by living with pride, we can loosen the grip of shame over time and prevent it from being passed on to the next generation. So how are some ways that you've experienced shame? Or what are some things you do to live with pride? Let me know in the comments. And remember, while we can't control our emotions directly, we can try to understand their function and help us regulate them and begin to feel more balanced. Happy Pride.